Yo, what's up guys, it is Skills, and in today's video we got you back with another 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross video. Now today's video is gonna be about which units you should 5-star and 6-star in the game right now. So if you guys are new, of course, you guys haven't seen any of my videos before, make sure to check out any other videos I have made on 7 Deadly. Yesterday's video, if you guys have seen that, it was Escanor's video summoning on him, so hopefully you guys did enjoy that, and if you guys want to see more of summons, let me know in the comments below and drop a like onto today's video. But basically for today's video, I'm going to talk about which units you should be 5-starring and 6-starring at least, depending on how you can, do the grinding for it, because it is a lot of grinding. Like, I will give this game that, like, it's very grinding worthy. So the first unit I'm going to say now, a lot of these units are going to be coin shop units, and that's fine because the coin shop units are one of the, actually all of the best units in the game in my opinion. So the first unit I'm going to talk about is Bond. So you're going to see on the sides, I'm going to just put their pictures and like their, I guess maybe do the cards. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. But if you guys are new to the game and you guys want a little bit more help, I'll leave the actual translations, like the actual website that you guys want to go onto to see all the card units itself. But on the sides, I'll just have the pictures around, just showing what units I'm talking about. So the first one, of course, I even have them on my team. If you guys are watching this, I'm grinding out right now. But Bond is one of the main units you definitely want to get to 5-star to 6-star, just because he's actually really good for attacking all enemies, which does a lot of damage. So Bond, especially when he's a 3-star or 2-star, depending on what you're doing for your attack, he's still really good because Bond, one, inflicts a lot of damage with his life snatch, which is going to inflict 250% damage to all enemies and 30% lifesteal with his 3-star attack, which is very, very good. Now you're going to see I have my ultimate almost ready. So actually, to talk about his ultimate, it is a fake strike. So he's actually going to do it right now because I know the auto is probably going to pick it soon. So he's going to do it at the end. But to talk about it anyways, well, the first move he just did was steal or snatch. It steals 50% of all enemies' attack and defense for 3 turns. That's his 3-star. But then his fake strike, which is what he just did right there, it inflicts 400% damage to a single target and steals 50% of that target's attack and defense. So that's super good. So he's very good to bring his health right back up, which is very, very good as well. Doing that and attack and defense, which is very, very good because then they won't attack as much and their defense is broken or just like annihilated from that. Another thing is Hunter's Festival, which is his full-on ultimate. It's gonna inflict 350% damage to a single target and steals 50% of that target's attack and defense. Same thing, it just does a little bit less damage. That's the first unit you want a 5 to 6-star because he's actually very, very good. Honestly, he's one of the best units in the game in my opinion, right next to Gother. So Gother I don't have on the team right now, but to talk about Gother, he will be on the side of the pictures however I'm doing this during my edit. But Gother, in my opinion, is probably the best unit to have on your team all the time, just because 1, he is an attack all unit, and 2, he seals attacks, which is a really, really big deal because when he seals attacks, they will not do that much damage to you. Like, well, they won't attack you at all, but having that is actually very good because 1, he seals for 1 to 2 turns depending on the stars he's a star of the attack it is. 2-star steals 1 turn, 3-star steals 2 turns, which is super good. His other thing is Invasion Arrow. So Invasion Arrow is his second skill, which ranks up all ally skills and increases basic stats by 20% for 3 turns. I'm telling you, that's actually super crazy because you have so many units that can do so much damage depending on their 2-star or 3-star. Like Meliodas, when he has his 3-star full counter and you get hit for a lot, you're going to be doing an insane amount of damage. So Meliodas is probably one of the best units in my opinion, but others can say differently. But it helps Bond a lot too, just in case. So that's one thing about Gother. You want a 5 to 6-star Gother for sure. Then he has his ultimate, which it inflicts 350% damage to all enemies and reduces the ultimate gauge by 3. Easily one of the best ultimates in the game because that's very useful. Then it's the same thing with his Fate with King. It just does 400% damage and takes ultimate gauges by 5, which is insane. So I would say 6-star Gother first, then 6-star Bond next. The other unit I definitely love is, and she's on the team right now, which is Merlin. Green Merlin from the coin shop is actually super good. So her first attack is going to be called Sphere Explosion. So her 3-star inflicts 450% damage to a single enemy and reduces its ultimate gauge by 3. Easily one of the best attacks because of that, because you don't want the enemy attacking you with their ultimates. They do a lot of damage and it's not worth it. So that's one thing. Second, Perfect Cube, which you're seeing right now with that pink square around us, or the cube. If it's a 3-star, it produces a shield of 375% attack on all allies for 2 turns. So basically, it's an extra shield, so you don't get hit. So you have to make sure that you are good for that, because if you get a 2 or 3-star one, it's very, very helpful. So other than the Perfect Cube, you also have Exterminate Ray, which is the ultimate. That ultimate is going to inflict 540% damage to a single enemy and seals attack skills for 2 turns. So she's good for that because, one, she's gonna actually reduce ultimate gauge, which is very good, and then she can seal attack skills for 2 turns, which is very, very good. So those are the 2 things you definitely want to look into with this unit, because Merlin is actually one of the best units out of every unit in the game. Actually, she also has a fate with Arthur. So the one with Arthur is called Tornado Sever. That inflicts 630% damage to a single enemy and then seals attack skills for 2 turns, which is super good as well. Now, one very good thing is actually her passive. So I didn't really talk about the passives for Gother and Bon, but for her passive is various samples. At the start of the battle, the ultimate gauge of all allies is increased by 1. So you're basically one step closer to doing your ultimates with each unit, which is super good with that. So Merlin, Gother, and Bon are the main that you definitely want to work on. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. Now, Meliodas is able to be talked about as well if you guys do pull him. Meliodas is an insane unit. I can definitely say he is worth 5-star to 6-starring if possible, because he does so much damage with his Hellblaze. He also does a lot of damage with his full counters, basically, whenever you are able to do it, because his full counter deflects a single attack of 250% damage based on missing HP. So if he takes more damage, the more attack he's going to do. His ultimate is going to cleanse an enemy's target's buffs and stance changes, and inflicts 490% damage to a single target and stuns for 1 turn. Stunning is very useful in this game, so that's something you definitely want to look into. But cleanse removes an active effect, which is very good as well. Then his fate with Diane is going to do 560% damage, and the same thing with stunning. So that's actually super good as well. All or Nothing, which is his passive, is one of the best things ever, because the less HP this unit has, the more likely it is to land critical hits. Very, very good unit. The next unit I'm going to talk about is going to be Hellbroom. Hellbroom, the red Hellbroom, is actually super good. Now, this red Hellbroom is able to be used in PvP based. So a lot of these units that we're talking about, you can use it PvP or you can use it PvE. But mainly, I would say a lot of the units I talked about would be PvP/PvE based, depending on what you're trying to do. Merlin is very good for PvE, and she's actually really good for PvP itself. Gother is definitely super good for PvE or PvP, it's up to you. Bon is decent for both. I would say he's more of a story person, so PvP. I don't really see too much on PvE for him. There's so many units that you definitely want to work on for 6-star, but the main units I would say for progression in the game would be units like Bon, Gother, Merlin, Meliodas. Another one I actually really like, and she's actually super good, is going to be the blue Diane, which is her name Matrona. The one actually seeing on my team right now, my 4th unit. She is super good. I've noticed that she does a lot of damage, and the good thing about her is every time she attacks, she gets a really good critical attack. So her passive, this character's critical hit chance is boosted by its critical resistance. Every time I use her, she does a lot of crits, which is super good. But her skills, like her first skill, inflicts 450% damage to a single target and applies burst. So burst increases damage done to targets with buffs times 2. So if there's a unit that has a lot of buffs on them, like an enemy, she's gonna do a lot more damage with that. Super good. So definitely want to use her if you can. Her second skill inflicts 360% damage to a single target and seals buff and debuff skills for 2 turns. So that's actually super good as well. I use mainly her first skill attack because it does a lot more damage. Her ultimate is it's called Dragon Kick. Inflicts 560% damage to a single target and applies penetration, which penetration increases rate by times 3. Now her fate with which is with Hauser, and inflicts 640% damage to a single target and applies penetration. So she's good for attacking, and she's a blue unit. A lot of units that you see, you don't really use that many blue units other than her. You have Milliam, you have Rimuru, you also have I think, well, DN right here. You have, as well as Gallon. Gallon's a really good blue unit as well, but not too many that you would use properly on a team, but those are some units you could use. Now the last unit I would say you do want a 6-star or 5-star if possible is either the Blue King, or you want to do the actual Hellbrum. So Red Hellbrum, super good. This is more PvP based now because they're both good for that. But King and Hellbrum both petrify, which is super good. So one thing about Hellbrum specifically is that his is going to be PvP based. So you definitely want to 6-star or 5-star him if possible. So that's one of the units I did want to say. But other than that, you definitely want to do King. King is one of the best units in the game as well, because one, he petrifies enemies, and he also does healing. So healing is a huge deal when it comes to this game, because when your health goes lower, you definitely don't want to like lose that fast, because there's a lot of enemies that you'll fight that are super strong, and they can take you out easily, like super easily. So you have to be very careful. Some units do need health lower just because they'll do a lot more damage, like Meliodas. But there are some units that can actually bring back their health, which is going to be, you know, King or Bond, in which he can do the life steals and stuff like that. So there are some units that are good for that, but specifically King, super good. Because one, petrifying is a really big deal, because if an enemy is prone to petrifying, then that's going to suck. But if it's actually really good to do petrifying, then do that, because you'll basically not have to take a damage for 1 to 2 turns depending on the star of the petrify. So that's super good. And King does a lot of damage, the Blue King. And mind you that this is a free to play unit as well, so you can definitely get this out of the 3rd chapter in the game if you're playing it. Then his healing, he does have a pretty good amount of healing, because he can heal 50% of missing HP and cleanses all debuffs as his 3-star, which is super good for his 2nd skill. His his ultimate does 420% damage to all enemies and applies crushing. So crushing ignores patience rate. I'm not too sure on that, but it still does a lot of damage, which is really good. Next thing is cross fate shooting. It's his fate with DN, which does 480% damage. So out of all of that, super good. All the units that you're actually going to be 5-star, 6-starring are a lot of the units from the coin shop, which, like I said, I cannot stress that enough. The coin units are the best units in the game, in my opinion. But there are other couple units that you could 5-star and 6-star if you wanted to, depending on what you're doing. Like if you're going to be doing raids, like boss raids, demon raids, for example, then you want units like Demon Meliodas, for example. Demon Meliodas is top tier for that. He does a lot of damage. He's super good in my opinion. Before he got the buff, he was still good, but the better the chances now for him. He does a lot more damage now. So Demon Meliodas is another unit for sure. I got to give him some credit for that. Other units, like if you're gonna do boss raids, you definitely want units like Slater. Slater is very good on, I believe, the 1st boss raid, just because he does a lot of damage to it. So that's one unit you could work on. 2nd unit you could definitely want to work on, if possible, is going to be the Green King. Green King, the one that's on the pillow. He's super good as well, just because one, he does a lot of damage, but he also is going to apply Fatal. So whenever he does a lot of damage, so he increases his critical damage by ×2. So he's going to do a lot of damage if you focus him with crits. So that's one thing you do want to focus on. 2nd thing is going to be his 2nd attack, which is Toxic Guardian. It inflicts 400% damage to a single target, and then it applies Ruin. So Ruin removes all targets' debuffs and inflicts plus 20% damage for each one. So if you're fighting a demon boss, basically they're going to have a lot of buffs on that. So if he can remove all target debuffs and inflicts 20% damage for each one, that's super good. Then you have his super attack, or his ultimate, which is going to be the same Sunflower as the other one, as his blue form. Same thing with his fate as well. So like I said, a lot of these units very good in my opinion. A lot of units you can 6-star if you want to, 5-star, 6-star, but those are the main units I would say work on for the main story and for PvE for here and there. But all the newer units that you're seeing, like Escanor, DN, you have Millium, Gallon, all these units, of course, if you pull them, 6-star them as fast as possible, because they're super good, especially Escanor. He's insane. But that's basically what I wanted to talk about for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you guys are brand new to the channel. You guys want to see more 7 Deadly Sins, I definitely will continue that. And hopefully this video did help you guys out. Make sure to share around, around on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you guys share videos. And follow me on Twitter, just because we're close to hitting 600 followers on there. And I love talking on there, so if you guys want to DM me or anything like that, at me all you want. You can do that on Twitter at DBZSkills. Check me out there. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you guys did enjoy, drop a like, subscribe if you're brand new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.